Hey guys, this is Rodolfo with Progression Technologies. On this video, I'd like to show you all about weld beads, how we can add them in our models, and how to do the 2D representation on our drawings and how to call out those weld symbols. So let's go ahead and get started. So the weld bead is found under your Weldments tab. It's called Weld Bead. Now there are two weld bead features, I believe. One is called fillet bead and the other one is called weld bead. So let's go ahead and check those out. So if you go to insert down to Weldments, you'll see there are two options that you have here. There's fillet bead and weld bead. Now this is an older feature. It's here still in the program for legacy purposes, but it's getting phased out, and I don't think it's going to be available much longer. So the weld bead is the recommended feature to use for our purposes here, which is why it's on your Weldments tab. Alright, so let's go ahead and select our weld bead feature. As soon as we select it, it brings up the weld bead property manager, and it's automatically asking us to select faces or edges. If you're ever in doubt as to what it's asking you for, you have the icons that kind of display, and also if you hover your mouse over the selection area, it actually brings up a little pop-up with the description of what it's asking you for. Now there are two ways to select or to create or join. One way is to select the edges, both edges from two different bodies, or we can use the Smart Weld selection tool. So now let's use the first method, which is selecting our two faces. So we're going to select this face and this face, and as you can see, it found that joint in between those faces. Now for example purposes, I'm just gonna go with the standard 1/4 inch bead size, and I'm not gonna change any of the, but you can define your weld symbols here. You know, you can do all around, so on and so forth. Okay, tangent propagation, if you have if you're welding like a plate to a structural member, there are other options here. If in doubt, if you do not know what all these options are, you can always select your help icon, or you can select the what's new about this feature icon. And this brings up the SolidWorks help, which is very helpful. And here it goes through each one individually. So this is the all around that I was telling you about, from two lengths, so on and so forth. Okay. Another tip, let me cancel out of this. Another tip that I highly recommend you guys take into consideration is, let's say your features and you don't remember where this weld bead feature is, but you kind of remember the name. You can drop this little arrow down and you can go to commands and you can start typing what you think the name of the feature is. So for example, beads, and you see how it brings up. Now if you click on your little eyeglass symbol and you don't move the mouse, let's try that again. It actually takes you see that? It actually dragged my mouse or dragged the cursor over to where the feature is. Okay? Anyways, so let's go ahead and go back in there. Alright? So we'll select both of our faces, found the joint, doing a 1/4 inch bead. Alright, let's go ahead and create a new weld path. So let's pan this over, select new weld path, and now this time we're going to use the Smart Weld selection tool. Okay? Brings up our little pencil cursor. We're going to draw a line and connect both of the edges, and you see how it selected it found our joint. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and accept this. Now it created a weld folder. If you maximize the weld folder, you'll see that there's two fillet welds. You maximize it points out, if you select them, it points out on the graphics area where they're at, so they're easy to find. Okay, so let's go ahead and rebuild this and save this. Now let's go to our drawing. And by the way, these weld symbols, they are actually annotations, and I'll show you what I mean by that on the drawing. So now let's go ahead and create our drawing. So select window, go to our drawing. Okay, alright, here is the top view of that spool. Now we're going to select model items. What this feature does, it brings up a lot of the dimensions, annotations, notes, weld symbols from the model over to the 2D drawing. Okay, so for this example, we're going to select our caterpillar and we're going to select our weld symbols. The caterpillar is a 2D representation of that weld bead, and the weld symbols are obviously the weld symbols. Okay, so once we have those two options selected, now there are other dimension options you can select, like hole size, hole call out, center lines, so on and so forth. Alright, so now it's asking us to select our model item, so let's go ahead and select it. Alright, and we're going to hit OK. And voila, there we go. So we have the caterpillar, which represents the weld bead. We have the weld symbol. You can always go back. Actually, let's do a Control Tab, which is a hotkey for browsing open windows. And you can double click on your weld symbol and it brings up your property manager for that weld symbol. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. Property tab, and there you go. So in this video I showed you how to add the weld beads, how to get more information about the weld beads in case you have some questions about all the features, where the weld bead location is. I'll talk to you a little bit about how to add the weld bead and the caterpillar, which is a 2D representation, onto your drawing. So I hope you had fun and I hope you learned something from this video. Thank you. Until next time, bye.